I bought a third Citroen Ami, and I hear you saying already, what on earth have you gone and done that for? Well, let me tell you the story, shall I? For those of you that are just discovering this channel for the first time, I'm Gary. I run a second-hand EV specialist sales business based in Gloucester, and prior to that, I've been making content on YouTube about EVs for a little while now. Had a little bit of a hiatus recently, but we're trying to get back on track. And in September 2022, I bought the first Citroen Ami that Citroen UK delivered to a customer. And it was quite the experience. Well, it broke down very shortly after being delivered. I had problems with the motor, and that was fixed, and then it came back, and then, long story short, I was driving it to its first ever service at 2 years old, and it broke down and then didn't ever come back again. So, a little bit of a checkered past with the Citroen Ami. I was then silly enough to order a second one in July 2025 when Citroen started knocking them out on really, really cheap finance. So it was like 50 quid a month to have this thing on PCP for a year. And that one was broken when it arrived too. So we're not really talking about the best quality products ever. And then I made the decision to buy this one. For stock. I was planning on selling it. It came quite cheap, and I thought, well, you know, there's some profit in that. We'll sell it on, and it's been here ever since. Now, the one that I got on the cheap deal in July 2025 has actually gone now. Somebody did buy that one, so I advertised them both for sale at once, and somebody bought that one. Now, it was the tonic model. There's a bit higher spec. There's some photos of it here. And once Citroen fixed it, it was actually really good condition and worked really well. And so I sold that one on for a small profit, and then I was left with this one. It is a 2024 model. There, it's just the base model. I've got the orange wheel trims and all that on it, but it just came as this completely base car. It's got 3,000 miles on the clock now. I think I had just over 2,000 on it when I bought it. And obviously, as you can see, it is all sign written up, advertising the business. What I find with Ami is it attracts so much attention everywhere you go. So it's absolutely perfect to be this sort of mobile billboard. And you can see it's in really, really good condition. I mean, you know, as it should be. It's only done a couple of thousand miles. There's hardly a mark on it, which is, you know, exactly what you'd expect. Fantastic mobile billboard, and it does a really good job of turning heads. Now, I tend to just park it up here and there and let it do its thing. But I do use it running around locally too. And I even lent it to a customer recently, which... I don't know about your definition of courtesy car. This probably wouldn't be everybody's idea of a courtesy. But in fairness, the guy that borrowed it was really happy with it because he'd never driven them before, and he was really, really interested in seeing what they were like. And of course, in here, very, very bog standard. Now, we don't have the full orange pack, so I don't even have mats in it at the moment. Don't have the nets, anything like that. I do have these orange things. Basically, just been piecemealing accessories as they become available second-hand. Let's take it for a drive. We'll talk a bit more about my love-hate relationship with the Citroen Ami, shall we? This will likely be the first video I upload in quite a long time. I've been quite a lengthy break from making content, and that has mostly just been because I've been putting everything into the sales side of the business at the moment. Getting stock in, getting it prepped, getting it sold, and that has taken up a surprising amount of time, and there's been a few bumps in the road along the way. And, you know, maybe some future videos we'll talk about that some more, on the trials and tribulations of trying to be an independent car dealer and trying to do the job properly and do the right thing by people. It's certainly much easier to do the job not in the right way. You know, you can see why so many used car dealers get a bad name, because it would be much, much easier to not give a shit and do the job badly. But, you know, I set out to not do that, and I certainly won't do that. But it has been taking up an awful lot of my time recently. But I do want to get back to bringing you regular YouTube videos. Quite a lot of you out there helped build this channel. Watching me tool about in the Citroen Ami, and quite a lot of you, you know, watching the other content that we put out. So I haven't forgotten about you all, and I do want to bring things back. So hopefully this will be the start of a bit more regular upload cadence. I've got a few irons on the fire at the moment, and we can hopefully get back on track. One thing I would like you all to do, if you're not subscribed to the channel at the moment, please do. It helps massively with the algorithm. When I post new videos, it then gets pushed out much more to people that have subscribed. and a massive number of people watch my videos, but they don't subscribe to the channel. So please do hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. It really helps a lot. It'd be much appreciated. And if you have subscribed, I'm relaunching soon the sort of second channel. Now, I had a second channel previously, which was solely focused on like internal combustion engine cars. So the weird crap that I buy from the auctions because I'm bored, or stuff that comes in a part exchange or whatever. And there'll still be some of that on there because it doesn't really fit with this main channel, and the algorithm absolutely hammers it. But I'm also going to move like e-bike related stuff and product reviews and all that over there too, because I've realised that is kind of harming this channel. It's not doing well with the algorithm because a lot of people that are here aren't here for that stuff. But if you are interested in that kind of stuff, there's a link in the description to the second channel, which will now be called More Modern Heroes. So do subscribe to that if you're interested, and keep an eye out. There'll be some new content coming there very shortly too. So it'd be much appreciated if you could be subscribed to both, and that will help me going forward. It means we can be more successful as we return to producing regular stuff. Of course, this is the bit where you normally talk about first impressions on comfort and equipment levels, but Ami, well, doesn't really have any of that. You've got 2 seats, a steering wheel, and, well, that's about it. And I think that comes as a bit of a shock to a lot of people, but I think really you've got to understand what this is supposed to be. It is absolutely supposed to be that sort of utilitarian transport. It is meant to get you from A to B. It's not meant to get you from A to B in any kind of comfort. And it certainly isn't going to do so quickly, given it has a top speed of 28 miles an hour. That being said though, I remember when I first drove one of these at Citroen UK HQ, when I had the chance to actually see and drive the first ever UK model ones to arrive, and then took one of the French press cars out on the roads around Coventry, and it still feels just as special now as it did then. Yes, it is completely barren of all things like comfort and features and all that stuff that you might look for in a car. But I think what you need to remember is it's not a car at the end of the day, and that's not just talking about its legal classification as a quadricycle. I think what you need to think of Ami as is, well, it's a moped with a roof, you know? It is a fun, small, nimble way of getting around without all the bulk and complexity that a normal car gives you. Now, you aren't going to be able to replace your car with this necessarily, unless you live in a very urban area and you always make very short journeys, in which case, I mean, you probably would be better off with an e-bike or something like that. But as a second car, you know, an extra pair of wheels in the family where you can use it for those trips to the supermarket, you can you know, use it for those shorter journeys, it is great at what it does. And now, I mean, I think that was quite a hard sell when they were, you know, £8,000 they cost when they were brand new, but now you can pick these up for, well, I paid well under £4 for this one, but obviously that was at a trade auction, so that's maybe not representative of what the public would pay. But I have seen them for sale for sort of $3,995-ish to the public. Now, for that kind of money, you probably aren't going to be in a 24 reg one with hardly any miles on like this one. You're probably more going to be looking at a 72 plate, one of the early ones, and maybe with a few more miles on too. I mean, there are some of these out there, believe it or not, racking up the miles. There are some of these out there with, you know, 10, 15, 20,000 miles on, because people are using them every day and they are, you know, really putting them through their paces. There's actually one I know of, this local to me, and I'm pretty sure he's pushing 20,000 miles in it now. And that's quite remarkable, really. And actually, it seems that the more they're used, the less problematic they are. Because I would say I'd be a little bit wary of buying one of the early ones, certainly based on my experience with the first one in the UK and all the problems I had with it, and the fact that Citroen UK really weren't able to fix it, and all they wanted to do was sort of fire the parts cannon at it. You know, that was basically all they were going to do with it, was replace everything and hope for the best at great expense because the warranty had expired. But I think the more they're used, the less likely you are to run into these problems. I mean, even this one, you know, it's got 3,000 miles on the clock. It has been used a bit more, and
that seems to be doing it well. It drives really, really well. There's no real sign of anything sort of wearing, anything causing any problems. And it does seem to be in better order than the one that I had that really didn't have many miles on, wasn't used that much at all. So I think having one that you're actually going to use regularly means that maybe you need to worry a little bit less about reliability, because that seems to be what is actually quite good for them and keeps them going. I still would be a bit wary of those very early ones. I think my experience sort of speaks volumes, and that there are others out there that have suffered similar fates. Now, I don't know if they were also sort of lower mileage Amis that weren't used very much. I don't know if that's what has sort of done them all in, or if it is that there are some sort of inherent design faults with those earlier cars. I know that there have been various improvements to the traction battery and the associated systems over the years. And buying the latest one you can get your hands on is a sensible strategy. Now, you need to be a little bit wary with that, because the ones that were sold on the very cheap finance deal, the so-called 2025 or 2026 registered ones, were all built a little bit earlier than that. Now, the one that I had, the Ami Tonic that I sold recently, that was built in 2023, so it was a little bit improved over the 2022 models, but then there have been some people having them delivered that were built in 2022. So you can't go by the fact, oh, it's a 25 plate, that means it's newer and it'll be better. You do need to do a bit more research and digging into that to see what you're actually buying. I think this one was built in 23, even though it's 24 registered, so it is slightly improved, but not as good as the very latest ones. So the way you find the very latest Amis out there are the ones that have the dash mounted gear selector. The gear selector normally is down here next to the driver's seat. The very latest ones have it on the dash underneath the hazard switch. I'll show you a photo of that. Those are definitely ones with the newest packs and potentially the most reliability. So I'd look out for those if you're wanting to buy an Ami and you have a slightly bigger budget and you can be a bit pickier, because that probably gives you the best chance of success. And I think they really do represent pretty good value for money now. I mean, I think that's a £4,000 mark, and 4 to 5 grand seems to get you into one quite comfortably. And even, at that money, you can buy one from a dealer with a warranty. I mean, I think even the local Citroen main dealer around here has one up for sale, or did at the time of filming this, for about 4.5. And at that, you're going to get, the Citroen approved used warranty with it. So although Citroen are a little bit useless at fixing them, that might be a good option, because you do have that to fall back on. It's very unlikely that they're going to decline an approved used warranty claim, so it's probably going to stand you in a little bit better stead than buying one privately and not having that support behind you. So it's worth bearing in mind. And they really are fun to drive. I mean, I don't even overly find the 28 mile an hour speed limit a massive issue. I think you need to think a little bit about types of roads you drive on. Avoid dual carriageways and stuff like that where you can. Obviously, you're not legally allowed to drive them on motorways, but you can take them on any other type of road in the UK legally. Whether it's sensible to do so would be the other question, and it's something you really do need to think about and bear in mind. But I've never felt particularly that, I can't make that journey because I need to avoid certain roads and stuff. You can usually find detours, you can stick to back roads, and you can be a bit sensible and you can avoid the limitations getting in the way. Having said that, though, if it is that much of an issue, you can actually remove the speed limiter these days. I think it'll do about 45, 50 mile an hour if you remove it now. It's a little bit legally questionable as to whether that's a wise thing to do. You want to consider like insurance, you're modifying your car, you've got to declare that to your insurance company. And also, it is a little bit of a question mark over whether it is strictly legal to even do that. So even if your insurer is perfectly okay with that, you would be changing like what the type approval of the vehicle's for. So these are type approved as vehicles that can only do 28 miles an hour. So I don't know where you'd stand having the speed limit removed. I know plenty of people have done it, but as always, I am not recommending you go and do that, and you definitely want to do your own research on how legal that is and whether that's a good idea for you to do that before you just sort of go ahead and do it anyway, and you'll potentially get yourself in trouble. It's not what we're about here. I have considered it, especially with this one that is now out of warranty. I wouldn't do it on a brand new one because, as I've proven, the warranty is quite useful. But you know, it's something you could do on an older one if you weren't so concerned. So yeah, make of that what you will, and any of that would be done at your own risk. But if the top speed is a real deal breaker for you, the option is available. And I do know some people that have done that and are happy with it. But if you spend an awful lot of your time like this, sort of bumming around town, you know, 20, 30 mile an hour speed limits, you don't even need to think about the top speed. It's absolutely fine. And the one thing that I am absolutely certain about is, for this kind of use that I'm using this one for now, as a sort of mobile advertising, mobile billboard, it is perfect for it, because nothing draws attention like it. I've driven this in areas where there have been people in, you know, very expensive cars, your Ferraris, Porsches, stuff like that, and I can guarantee you that every pair of eyes within a square mile was looking at this, because it's just so strange and you don't see many of them around. And that does seem to be, you know, extremely effective. If you're going to put your business name on the side of it and you want people to take notice of it, well, there's nothing else like it, I don't think. So really the plan for this then is just to continue using it as is. So parking it up in prominent areas, letting people take notice of it, moving it around, using it as my transport to go back and forth to the unit. I leave it at the train station a lot, because if I'm going to pick up a car or I'm going somewhere else on the train, I pay for a couple of days parking and come back knowing that it's had hundreds of eyes on it in that time. And you know, that is really its main purpose, is to get the word out there about what we do and how we do it. And I think it is quite effective at that. It's a difficult thing to measure, unless someone comes to me saying, "Oh, I saw your stupid little car, and so I decided to check out your website." It's hard to measure, you know, the effectiveness of that. But for the cost of a little bit of vinyl and the fact that this was here anyway, I think that's working out really well. It's very, very cheap marketing, and the fact that I can then use it as something that I don't need to think about dumping at the station or whatever, is really, really useful. And as I said at the start of the video, I did actually lend this to a customer. Their car came back for a little issue under warranty, and you know, they could do with some transport, and I don't have a proper loan car at the moment, although I am working on that. And so I was like, well, you know, I hate to see you without transport. Do you want to borrow this for a few days? And actually, he was super glad of it. You know, it got him about. He could do everything he needed to do with it, and it meant that you know, he was on the road, but he also got to experience Ami, and people are super, super curious about that. Yeah, I find that people that haven't driven them don't really know what to expect, and it's once they actually spend some time with it, you either get it or you don't. But more often than not, people do get it. You know, it clicks, and they're like, well, actually, you know, that was really cool, and I actually quite want one now. And I've found that quite a lot. Whenever I've lent one to someone, it sort of clicks and they get it, and I think that is the thing with it. I think it's really, really easy to just look at this and think, oh, that looks ridiculous, that must be crap. But quite a lot of people actually give one a go and then realise how much fun it is, and that's them hooked. So, you know, don't knock it till you tried it, is all I'll say on that one.
I was stupid enough to buy a Citroen Ami for the third time, although in fairness, this one does actually seem to be going quite well. Nothing wrong with it yet, but yeah, there's still time, I suppose. This will actually be needing a service pretty soon. The warranty is up on it anyway. It only comes with a 2-year warranty on the whole thing, and a 3-year warranty on the battery. So we'll tackle that ourselves, I think. There's no point in paying Citroen to do it, especially because most Citroen dealers don't really know what they're doing. So maybe in a future video with it, we'll show you what the service entails, which isn't very much, but it'll give you an idea of how you go about that and what you need to be looking for if you have one of these and you're interested in just sort of keeping an eye on it yourself. Now, as always, I'd say if you've not got experience working on cars and you don't really know what you're doing, leave it to the professionals, don't get involved. But if you have got a bit about you and you've worked on other cars before, then maybe those videos will be helpful. So if you haven't already, do subscribe, keep an eye out for those. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.